Podcast City Network.
Thank you for tuning in on this episode of the Everett Lee Show. But before we get on with the guest onto the program today, there's a couple things I do want to mention that you can help out with supporting the Everett Lee Show. If you're looking to start a podcast and already have a podcast and you're looking for an affordable podcasting hosting site, Podbean's your number one choice. Podbean offers statistics with in-depth analytics to manage your podcast needs. Use the promo code podbeam.com/pbsignup and get a free month off. That's podbeam.com/pbsignup to get a free month off and see why 1,500 episodes have been shared all over the world in the past 11 years with over 3,000 subscribers that have chose Podbeam as their number one hosting site. And if you're looking to get into advertising, Podbeam advertising, you'll get $100 off advertising when you sign up as a sponsorship over on podbeam.com/pro/pbsignup. That's podbeam.com/pro/pbsignup.
You're listening to the Everett Lee Show.
Today we listen in on a discussion from a throwback episode of the Everett Lee Show. You may have heard this discussion before on a previous episode, or you may have not. Enjoy. Ladies and gentlemen, joining me right now on the podcast, we have the horror nerd Todd Staruch, and we have indie film director Tom Ryan. Welcome, guys.
Hey.
No problem.
Yeah.
No problem. Todd, I gotta ask you, how was the flight to Texas with you guys?
Well, the flight was good, except for the fact that Tom was on the same flight. But other than that, no. You know what? I love flying, but I hate the other people that fly. You know, because if you can't figure out how to find your seat on an airplane by now, you should just stay home.
Oh yeah, you definitely.
Agreed.
Yeah,
agreed.
But other than that, it was a good time. Tom and I went to Texas Frightmare Weekend, a big horror convention down in Dallas, and we had a blast.
Awesome. Did you get a cowboy hat? I seen Tom was mentioning about a cowboy hat on Facebook.
I am not nearly cool enough to wear a cowboy hat, so I leave that up to Tom.
I've been wearing cowboy hats, man, since I was a little boy, and I was waiting for the day to get to Texas to sport my cowboy hat, and I wound up the whole week, and I saw like two other guys with them on, and that was only like for a short time. So yeah, it was kind of I wasn't expecting.
Awesome.
The only guy in Texas with a cowboy hat was the dude from New Jersey.
Right, exactly. How you doing?
Wow. Well, I asked Tom. I said, "Hey, man, it's like, can you get Todd to wear a cowboy hat? I like to see him in a cowboy hat, man."
He actually wore mine later that night, but that was later in the hotel room. We had a lot to drink, and things got crazy.
I thought that alcohol was involved.
Tom, you were supposed to keep that as our little secret.
Yeah.
Oh, it's okay. It's just between, all four of us and everybody listening, so it's all right.
Yeah, it's cool.
Yeah.
It's definitely cool. It definitely is cool. I bet it was hot down there, wasn't it? Or over in Texas, was it? The weather?
It wasn't hot. It was nice.
It was nice.
Todd, what was it? High 70s, low 80s?
Yeah, it was like low 80s the whole weekend. It was awesome, the weather.
Oh yeah, it was beautiful.
That's cool.
Can't go wrong with that.
Oh yeah, you cannot definitely go wrong with that.
No.
Those who are not familiar with Todd, the horror nerd, can you briefly let listeners and viewers know briefly about yourself that don't know about who the horror nerd is?
Well, the horror nerd is my alter ego. I'm basically a lifelong fan of horror films since I'm about 8 years old. And then some years ago, I decided I wanted to get more involved in the independent horror film scene here in New York and New Jersey. So I just started talking to people and meeting indie filmmakers. and slowly just, built up a circle of friends who direct or shoot or act in independent films. And then eventually, got to the point where I was appearing in a few films here or there, helping out on various productions. And I started my website, horrornerd.net, where I basically just talk about the things that I like when it comes to horror, movies that I like, music that I like, et cetera, et cetera. And then, along the way, I met Tom. At the time, we met just because we were both fans of Giants football. I had no idea he was a filmmaker at the time, and I was like, no shit. And then, and just went from there. And now today, I have my website. I go to a lot of conventions, and I'm always astonished that, every once in a while someone will look at me and go, hey, you're that nerd guy from New Jersey, right? I'm like, yep, I'm that nerd guy from New Jersey. But yeah, it's been a lot of fun. It's been great to be able to take my love of watching movies and turn it into actively being involved with filmmaking. It's been very cool.
That is awesome. That is awesome. Now, Tom, I got the burning questions I want to ask you. First off, being a indie film director, what was some of your favorite movies growing up?
Oh, so I had a ton of favorite movies in the sci-fi genre. The Star Wars.
Mm-hmm.
I actually hated Star Trek: The Motion Picture when it came out, but I like it now.
You son of a
But as far as horror went, I grew up on a lot of 70s styled horror, a lot of stuff like Night Gallery and Twilight Zone, and just in the movie department. I grew up with all the Universal monsters, of course. I'd seen all those, and then I just started to get into stuff. The Omen, The Exorcist, those films, and it's funny because today I wouldn't say that those are some of my favorite horror films. I really love those horror films, but as far as being influential, those are the things that really they steered me down a certain path.
Mm-hmm.
I started buying Fangoria magazine and just started reading articles about every film that was coming out and reading in-depth descriptions of how the special effects were performed and interviews with the stars. There were just so many, but I mean, if I'm going to give you, one of my favorite horror films. So one of my favorite horror films is Return of the Living Dead.
Oh yeah, good classic.
Very nice.
Yeah, and it was just a great combination of everything, like dark comedy and horror, and just the music was great, the soundtrack was great. That was just, to me, just a kind of a really perfect and enjoyable horror film for a filmmaker.
Mm-hmm.
That's one of my favorites. God, if I'd have to give you another one, I'd have to say probably Evil Dead.
Yes.
And slash Evil Dead 2.
Yes.
And the reason that I can't really choose between them is because I think Evil Dead 2 kind of had more fun with the idea of the original, and because the original was so low budget, I think they were just kind of discovering what they could do with that story. Sam Raimi was just coming into his own on that, I think.
Oh yeah.
And in part two, I think you really captured that, and you can see that reflected in everything else that he's done, from Spider-Man to Hercules and Xena. You could feel that. Drag Me to Hell all kind of had that same feel from Evil Dead 2, like he had established that. So this is just a couple of my favorites, man. I can go on. I mean, with the original Dead films and all that and stuff, but that's boring, man. I can tell you about 100 films that I love. When you can mention them and say, "Oh, I love that film," So it's combined. There were so many films that had such a great effect on me that it's really hard to pinpoint any in particular.
Right. That is awesome. That is awesome. Chris?
I think I put him to sleep with that answer.
No, I ended up muting myself on accident. I do it a lot. Don't mind me. I'm here talking at my microphone. Like, why is nobody hearing me? Why is nobody responding? Anyways. Now, obviously, with directing, it takes a lot of know-how to do that, and especially with the level that you guys are involved in. Where did you attend college?
Well, at the time it was called Jersey City State College. Now it's called New Jersey City University. I was taking media arts there, but I actually only got through 2.5 years before I did drop out, because the time that I was going, I actually didn't have any assistant or grants. I was paying for it out of money that I had. I was paying for my own college. And after 2.5 semesters, or maybe 3 semesters, I can't recall right now, they were actually on their way to becoming a university, so they kept cranking up the tuition every semester and the credits, and they just kept making it more expensive. And I was young, and after 3 years of paying and paying more and more and running out of money, I ran out of my savings for college, and I just said, well, screw the system. If they want to make it difficult for me to get an education, then I won't get one. But I was taking media arts there. For a few years, and but what's funny is we did touch on a little bit of film, but mostly on the editing side, and we really dealt more on the audio end when I was in school. So if I had completed my media arts degree, it would have included the film end of it, but I'd only really got into the audio part in the beginning.
Very nice.
Awesome. Very nice. Very nice. I did jump on YouTube, and I did watch your short film, 9 Days.
Oh, J9.
That was awesome. What was the inspiration? Well, of course, I know it's the Night of the Living Dead, but putting that film together, that little short film, what was? How did that come about? How did the project come about for that little short film?
Well, I played a role on a friend of mine, Corrado Gadaletta, who's a director, and he has a website, deadroad.net, and I played a role on his web series, Dead Road. Mm-hmm. And kind of watching what he was doing with a digital camera and doing with a little small crew and doing that indie work, I had always loved to do indie films in my backyard with a VHS camera, but when I saw what he was doing with his own editing software, I thought it would be great if I could kind of do a zombie film myself. Mm-hmm. And because I knew it was going to be really low budget and I wasn't sure how I was going to go about it, I basically wrote the entire story to revolve around me in my house, so that everything was very easy to accomplish. And a lot of friends came through to participate in it. And luckily we had a good story, and so a lot of people really liked it.
Yeah, it was awesome. I enjoyed it, and especially the soundtrack. I was telling Chris about the soundtrack of it. And
oh, yeah.
I do want to mention this right here. I want to take a quick break, and when we come back, we'll dive more into the conversation right here. But first, there's a couple things I do want to mention. Since 1995, HighSpots.com has grown to be the company it is by serving the wrestling fans throughout the world with a great selection of merchandise. HighSpots.com has everything a wrestling fan could want, including the latest WWE and TNA releases, classic wrestling merchandise, and their HighSpots.com exclusive releases. HighSpots.com is the leading online retailer for professional wrestling and mixed martial arts, offering autographs, figures, DVDs, apparel, wrestling gear, and even wrestling rings. Their largest clients include WWE, Impact Wrestling, ROH, and AEW. Click on the High Spots logo on the Everett Lee Show page over on podcasty.net to order. Whether you are a wrestling fan, pro wrestler, or promoter, you can find what you're looking for at highspots.com. If you grew up as a kid in the 1980s or just a fan of 1980s pop culture, then ADTs is for you. ADTs sells a huge variety of licensed t-shirts featuring characters, movies, TV shows, video games, and music stars from the 1980s through today. They also have great costumes from 80s pulp culture too. ADTs.com sells officially licensed pulp culture t-shirts. As you might guess, their focus is on the 1980s, but do sometimes sell other cool pop culture related tees. 80s Tees has been in business since 2000, meaning they like retro 80s stuff too before it was cool. Follow the link provided in the description section of this episode for more. 80stees.com.
You're listening to The Everett Lee Show.
You mentioned, and I know that you have a band, Vlad The Inhaler. Awesome name.
Yep. Yep.
You tell us about your band there. I mean, it's just I figured like the music. One of the songs I checked out the music online there, and one of the songs I was like, that was in the movie there. That is awesome. It sounds good.
Yeah.
Man. Your band sound it
Thank
rocks.
You. Thanks very much, man. Yeah, Vlad The Inhaler. So Vlad The Inhaler is our drummer Jeff Mason, my guitar player Anthony Lambides, keyboard player Alfredo Morales, and singer Brittany Compatello. And yeah, this is our second album called The Aftermath that we just came out with. We got together about 5 years ago after a hiatus. I mean, we had been, Jeff and I had played together about 20 years ago in college, and we lived together and we kind of jammed together. We never really gigged too much, but we wrote some rough shot songs, and 20 years later we had a reunion at the studio, Pearl Studios in Jersey City, and we started rewriting songs that we had written 20 years ago, and that's what you hear on our site, on Reverb Nation, or on if you go to our Facebook page, the songs that you hear are basically those tunes reworked and recorded professionally, and it's a fun band, man. It's we don't do a lot of shows, but we come out with these CDs. We write all original music, and we do play gigs here and there. And if you're a fan of the band, we'll expose you to that.
Oh yeah, I love it, man.
Yeah.
To me, it sounds like Motorhead and Glenn Danzig had a child, and that became Vlad The Inhaler.
I love that description. That's great, man. That's a great description.
Thank you.
It's a great description.
Now, what I want to ask you about, though, is I want to ask about your first feature film, Faces. What can you tell us about that?
So Faces, we expanded our team from day 9, and Christian Santiago was my cinematographer and an integral part to that project. And a lot of the people that I had met at the Macabre Fair Film Festival were day 9 premiered. Well, that was their festival. It was a festival premiere. I'd met a lot of the people that were actually in Faces, and it was a really great project, man. We worked on that thing, I think, over the course of about 17 days. Shot it, and to date, it won 8 awards on the festival circuit. We won some really great awards on it. Best actor and best soundtrack, and that's actually got some Vlad The Inhaler music in it as well. But it's also got some bands like Polyabuse and Sylvia Platypus on there. Great bands, just made for a great soundtrack. And we just recently got distribution through Green Apple Entertainment, which was very rewarding. And now we're getting our work. We're trying to build stepping stones, man, to getting out there and getting exposure and getting noticed, and our work getting noticed. So Faces was a great piece of that, and made great strides for us. So. Yeah, that was fantastic.
Oh, awesome, man.
Very nice.
Awesome. I am definitely going to have to check that out. And people that's viewing the live stream right now and listening on the audio part of this podcast, I have a picture up called The Theater of Terror Anthology. What can you tell me about that? I want to start off with Todd on that, and then Tom.
All right. Well, I get to talk. Cool.
Shut up, Todd.
Sorry, Tom. Well, I was an actor in the last short film that Tom directed called Wrapped, and I had a great time doing that. It was a fun short horror film that we did. That was a lot of fun. And then Tom came to me, a month or so ago and said, look, our buddy Russell and I are working on a new film. We think it's going to be an anthology of short horror films. Would you be interested in being on the production team? And as soon as he said horror anthology, I said, I'm in. I don't even care what the stories are about or whatever. I'm a huge fan of anthology films. In fact, there's an old British horror film called Dr. Terror's House of Horrors. That was the first horror film I ever saw. It happened to be an anthology, and it just stuck with me. And as soon as he said anthology, I'm like, I said, I'm in. I would love to work with you. And we, went to his house for a production meeting, and he showed me the scripts for each individual film. And I just said, holy shit, this reminds me of The Twilight Zone or The Outer Limits or Kolchak, The Night Stalker. And he said, well, that's exactly what we were going for. And I said, okay, I can't wait to get started, And I'll let Tom fill you guys in more, but I'm even more excited now because we actually start filming the first short film in 2 days, this Friday. And I can't wait. We have a great cast for the whole thing. Tom, wrote some amazing short films, and I'm just really looking forward to it. And I'm just grateful that he thought of me. And it's fun now to be on the other side of things. Last time I was an actor in the film, which was great. And now it's just a totally different experience being behind the scenes. And it's been a great ride so far.
Awesome, man. Awesome. I love it, man. From what I've seen on the Indiegogo campaign, I think it's just amazing. Tom?
Absolutely.
Yep.
Oh, that was an awkward silence, Tom.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I thought he was still talking.
That thing you criticize me for all the time? That was one of them.
Yeah, sorry. I didn't know there was a question in there. I was just kind of waiting to hang back, man.
Oh, man.
No, so, yeah, it's, I'm especially excited about this project because being that it's an anthology, it gives us the opportunity to do 5 different stories, considering the linking story for all of them. But it allows us to dive into different parts of horror and sci-fi, all within the same project. Where the last feature I worked on, Faces, was basically focused on a certain set of characters throughout for an hour and 20 minutes. And although I love that movie, I love now the freedom that we kind of have to do these little stories. And we've always, and all of us have discussed this, and we've always loved stuff, like I mentioned, The Twilight Zone, Night Gallery, The Outer Limits, Tales from the Dark Side, Tales from the Crypt, the movie Creep Show, Twilight Zone, the movie. It goes on and on. Even Amazing Stories that Spielberg came out with. Like, I love all those short, contained stories that really kind of creep you out. They usually when they're that short, they usually have to deliver something more to you than just violence, right? So if you watch a horror film, you could show a slasher and it's just a lot of violence. But if you have a short film and you have to deliver it very quickly, that violence doesn't come across the same way. So you kind of have to do something, a little bit of a psychological twist. Mm-hmm. And that's what I love about this anthology, is that we're approaching it that way with really dark little, creepy creature feature style film.
That is awesome. When I was looking at about the Theater of Terror anthology, first thing I thought was Twilight Zone and The Outer Limits, like you said. And Twilight Zone was creepy. It's a classic TV show, and it was creepy. Nothing beats the original. I mean, I know they tried to bring it back, a couple times, I think, but nothing beat the classic original with the little shorts and stuff. And Creep Show, that scared the shit out of me as a kid.
yeah, great.
It did. I mean, it's just so good. And you don't see many horror directors actually, doing something like this nowadays. They're doing full length stuff and then having a series of little short horror films. It's just perfect, man. It is. And I love it. I'm glad to see someone bringing it back.
Yeah, there's some guys that are out there doing it. I've noticed that it seems to be more of they'll get a collection of filmmakers to do different shorts, and then release that as an anthology, where this is basically us doing all of them.
Mm-hmm.
So no, it's really great to do it. Of course, you know that we have the Indiegogo campaign, and so what we're trying to do is we're trying to fund the project as a whole. But what's great is that all these short stories are also so self-contained and we're trying to keep it short because the festival circuit sometimes it's tough for them. A short film that's 30 minutes. Sometimes it's tough for a festival to program into their weekend. And a feature film, sometimes they can only use a handful of them because they don't want to have people sitting in the seats for 2 hours on an indie film for too long. So they'll only promote the ones that are maybe really popular.
Mm-hmm.
So, what we're trying to do with these is definitely deliver something that we could be able to submit them to festivals as individual short films. But, our goal is to deliver it like a feature, like an anthology, Twilight Zone type combination of stories.
Oh, yeah, definitely. I have up on the screen your Indiegogo campaign page right now, and I love the perks that comes with backing this project here. I love what the perks have, man. You've got some really good stuff.
Cool, thank you.
You do.
Yeah, the entire Indiegogo site was designed by Russell and Diane Hackett, that are our partners on this project, and we're working hard to, definitely give the fans something back. We've always tried to deliver a good product. A lot of our fans and a lot of our supporters have always recognized that and said that to us, that they really appreciate that, we're trying to deliver a good quality product to them, and that's what we're trying to do. Like Todd said, I think we have some great stories here. We have some great actors on board. We're shooting this weekend. Heather O'Scanlan, Danielle Najari, and John Dion. Great actor Adam Ginsberg. My daughter's actually playing a small part in it. We needed a 9-year-old, 8-year-old girl, and she fit the bill. But that's what makes it indie, that's what makes it indie. These actors, I love to give them exposure because they're fantastic talents, and I think it's going to be a great weekend. It's going to be a great shoot, and I think it's going to be a great campaign.
Oh yeah, it definitely is. You have anything you want to add in there, Chris?
I was really excited to kind of see this come together. I'm almost half tempted to go ahead and throw some money at this, but obviously you guys work on a lot of things. Do you guys have any other projects that you're working on as of late?
Go ahead, Tom.
No, Todd, I think this is actually an answer that you could give better.
Well, right now, as far as film projects go, this is, Tom, the project really is Tom's, under his Theater of Terror label, production company, and I'm on sort of just as I don't know what you'd call me, Tom, other than a pain in the ass. But
I would say prick, or maybe.
Okay, fair enough. Okay, I have many titles.
Todd is actually like, for this film, he's working on our promotions and marketing, and Todd's been involved in the indie scene for a long time, and I like to have him on board and get him behind the scenes because I value his opinion. He does look at things from a film critic perspective, and I don't mean to be that he's critical, but he gives you practical. He'll give you a practical perspective on things that we're doing, and he just saying, "Hey man, why do you feel the need to do this scene?" And then I might explain to him, "Oh, it's because I want people to remember this later." And then he'll say, "Okay, got it, perfect, I understand." But I like that. It's good because it keeps me on my toes, but he's very valuable again with the promotions side of things. But what I was referring to when I said Todd might be better to answer this as far as projects going on is that we have a really big 5th anniversary of Todd's project, his baby, his door, and his welcome mat to the indie community, Grindhouse Nights at Cafe Z. Todd, take it.
Yeah, thanks, Tom. As you know, Denver, I run an indie film screening series here in New Jersey called Grindhouse Nights at Cafe Z.
Yes.
A very good friend of mine owns a restaurant called Cafe Z.
Mm-hmm.
And what we do is we have a full day where we screen a bunch of independent films interspersed with various entertainment. We'll have a belly dancer, a heavy metal singer, a goth singer, a burlesque dancer throughout the day. And what it really is a showcase for independent filmmakers. It's a curated festival, not a judged festival. We do not give out awards. It's not about that. There's plenty of film festivals that give out awards. I don't want to be yet another one. It's a relaxed atmosphere where the filmmakers can come in, screen their film, do a Q&A after each film, and then just interact with the fans. And I am very proud of how it's grown over the last 5 years, from a bunch of guys just, sitting in a room watching movies and talking about them, to actually selling tickets, for people to come in, watch the films, and hang out with us. And as Tom said, July 29th of this year is my 5th anniversary show. I can't believe I've been doing this for 5 years.
Congratulations.
A few years ago. What's that?
Congratulations.
Thank you. It's been a lot of fun. It's a lot of work programming a film festival, but I get so much joy out of it when I see the fans enjoying the films, when I see the filmmakers appreciating that there's 50, 60 people in a room watching their independent film. I've had independent filmmakers come to me and say, Todd, I never had this many people in a screening before watching my film. Thank you so much. And I get a lot of pride out of doing that. And then a couple of years ago, I asked Tom and a mutual friend of ours, Carolyn Barris, to come on as co-hosts, because I literally outgrew it. I couldn't do it all by myself anymore. So I rely on Tom and Carolyn to sort of keep me on the straight and narrow and say, listen, idiot, don't try to do too much. The show is successful as it is. So yeah, they kind of keep me from losing my mind completely. But yeah, that's it. That's kind of the biggie coming up in a couple of months, and I'm already frantic over all the things that I'm going to forget to do before July 29th.
Awesome. Congratulations on that, man. I always see you posting stuff on Facebook there, Todd, posting up about that, and it's like, man, if I get to go back up there to New Jersey, I convinced my wife, it's like, hey, you know what, babe, let's just go up to New Jersey, we have a daughter now. It's like, hey, let's show her where you grew up at, and hopefully it's like that's going on when we go up there, and we can actually like go up there and actually, I'd love to attend one of those one time, man. I'd love to. I just definitely.
That would be great. Yeah, we'd love to have you up.
Oh yeah, it's awesome. Every time I see that, I'm like, man, I just love to go to something like that. And Chris, it is awesome. Just the way Todd explained it, that's exactly how it is, man. With the post and everything he puts on Facebook. The one thing I like about Todd is he is direct and he tells it like it is. And
yeah, you can say that.
Yes. One enjoyment I get about it is his post, man. He gets out there and he posts, and he tells it like it is, and people get riled up, and I just laugh. I'm sitting there scrolling through, I'm like, looking, I'm like, dude.
Yeah, every now and again, I like to just roll a grenade into the room and see what happens.
That is awesome. I want to mention, Tom, Wendy says hi.
Who's that?
Wendy Tinoff says hi.
Don't worry, he's not a medium.
Wendy Teneo says hi?
Yes.
Are you serious?
No, I'm serious.
Wow, did she just put that on the page, or?
Yeah, on the live stream here, on the chat during the live stream, she said hi. I wanted to throw that out.
Oh, that's so awesome. Tell her I said hi. Hi, I guess she's listening. Hi, Wendy. Where are you? Wow, I know Wendy from back in high school. That's amazing. I have no idea where she's been for a long time. Wow.
Well,
bringing people back together.
Oh, yes. That's
Yeah, man. It's amazing.
That's a...
Call me.
Well, Chris, do you have anything else you want to throw out there?
That's pretty much it.
Pretty much it. Guys, Todd Staruch, horror nerd, Tom Ryan, I want to thank you for coming on and talking with us about the Theater of Terror anthology. Is there any plugs, anything you want to throw out there before we close?
Wow. Yeah, check out First Contact coming up in Jefferson Township, showing a film, Fate Estates, by a friend of ours, Mark Boutros. That's one of the films that's screening there, among others. Today, the event coming out. Well, we mentioned check out the Macabre Fair Film Festival. Wow, check out, what else, Todd? Anybody you want to shout out?
Yeah, it's a little more shameless self-promotion. My podcast with Scott Colbert, The Imaginarian,
Yes.
is on the supernauts.com. You can also find it on iTunes and the Google Store. Once a week, we talk about, all forms of art and creativity, films, music, books, what have you. It's fun. And like I said, Grindhouse Nights at Cafe Z in Union, New Jersey, July 29th, our big 5th anniversary show. You do not want to miss that.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you so
I'll
much.
Hey, man, I just want to add real quick. If you want to look me up on Facebook, my name is Thomas Ryan. You want to look me up on Facebook or look up Theater of Terror. We constantly promote a bunch of other indie filmmakers and musicians and events and such. So just check that out for plugs, and we will give you plugs all day long.
Awesome, man. Awesome. Thank you guys. Thank you guys for coming on, taking some time out, and coming on and talking. And I cannot wait to see this when it starts rolling and when it comes out to the public, man. Awesome.
Thanks for having us.
You're welcome. Podcast City Network, your top source for independent podcasting. Head over to podcastcity.net. Follow them on social media, Podcast City Network on Facebook, Twitter at Podcast City Net. Subscribe to the YouTube channel, Podcast City Network, and on Twitch, /Podcast City Network. Podcast City Network. Be creative, be independent, be yourself. When I need a logo or graphic design done, I use 3 Count Design. 3 Count Design offers a wide range of graphic design products, video, photography, and other forms of media. Everything from t-shirt designs to websites. For more information, head over to facebook.com/3countdesign. That is facebook.com/3countdesign. When I want to kick back a few cold ones with my friends, I head over to City Limits Tap Room. City Limits Tap Room has a wide selection of TVs to watch your favorite sports, indoor and outdoor seating. They are pet friendly. City Limits Tap Room also has food made fresh to order, and the grilled cheese is excellent. I recommend the grilled cheese and the apple pie cider. The fries on the side, can't go wrong with that, baby. For more information for upcoming events, head over to facebook.com/City Limits Tap Room. Thank you for tuning in on this episode of The Everett Lee Show.